Am I the bleep bleep for playing hero in the NYC subway and nearly getting jumped? I, 24, male, recently moved to New York City for a new job, and let me tell you, it was not what I expected. I grew up in a smaller town where people at least pretended to have manners, and I always thought NYC would be this exciting, fast-paced adventure, like in the movies. You know, bright lights, people in stylish coats, walking with purpose, the smell of fresh bagels in the air. Yeah, nope. What I actually got was trash piled on the sidewalks, honking that never stops, and people who will shove you out of the way like you don't even exist. Then there was my apartment. Moving in was a nightmare. The second I stepped into the building, I was greeted with the unmistakable scent of stale pizza and something rotten. My neighbors, rude as hell. I tried to introduce myself to the guy across the hall, and he just grunted and shut the door in my face. Another time, I held the elevator for someone, and instead of a thank you, they just rolled their eyes like I had personally inconvenienced them. Oh, and let's talk about the rats. These weren't just normal rats, they were massive. I saw one the size of a small dog casually strolling down the hallway like he paid rent. I swear, he even gave me a nod before disappearing into the stairwell. Still, I was determined to make the best of it. My new job was a big deal, and I was excited to start. The only issue? Traffic. Everyone warned me that driving in NYC was a nightmare, so I figured the subway was the way to go. I was actually excited to experience it. I had never used one before. Where I came from, we just drove everywhere. But hey, it's just public transport, right? How hard could it be? Well, my first day of work, I got up early, had everything planned, dressed sharp for my first day, and confidently walked to the station, feeling like a real New Yorker. That confidence died the moment I stepped into the station. It was absolute mayhem. People moving in every direction, pushing, shoving, and worst of all, fare evaders. People weren't paying the fare, they were jumping over turnstiles, pushing through open emergency doors, or just squeezing behind others who were tapping their cards. And the craziest part? No one cared. No security, no station staff stopping them, not even the other commuters seemed fazed. I was confused. Wasn't this stealing? Back home, this would never fly. Here, it was just normal. I hesitated, wondering if I was missing something. Was there some kind of unspoken rule that subway fares were optional? But I wasn't about to start my first day of work by committing a crime, so I pulled out my card and tapped to go through the turnstile. The moment I did, I felt someone shove against me from behind. Hard. I stumbled forward, barely catching myself before face-planting onto the nasty subway floor. My heart jumped as I turned around to see a guy, mid-20s, hoodie, smug as hell, standing there, clearly trying to sneak through the gate with me to avoid paying. Oh, hell no. Without thinking, I reached out and grabbed the back of his hoodie, yanking him back through the turnstile. "What the heck, man?" I shouted. Immediately, the guy spun around, eyes flashing with anger. "What the fudge is your problem?" he shouted. "Why you grabbing me?" I was taken aback. "Because you literally just tried to push through without paying?" I said, confused as to why I even had to explain this. The guy laughed, like I had just said the dumbest thing in the world. "Man, everyone does it. Mind your business." "Pay your fare like everyone else," I yelled, still in shock at his audacity. This triggered a whole scene. The guy squared up like he wanted to fight. "You ain't a cop, bro. Mind your damn business." At this point, I expected people around us to step in, to at least react in some way. But nope, nothing. The other commuters didn't even glance up from their phones. A guy leaned against a pillar, scrolling mindlessly. A woman put on her headphones and looked the other way. An older man flipped through a newspaper like none of this was even happening. It was as if I was invisible. The guy, still rubbing his hoodie where I had grabbed it, was getting heated. You touching people now, huh? You think you better than us just 'cause you paid? Now, I was shocked. Here I was, standing up for something that should be common sense, paying for your darn ride, and somehow I was the villain? I couldn't believe it. I'm just saying, I shot back, my voice growing louder. If everyone started skipping the fare, how the heck do you think the subway keeps running? It ain't my problem, hoodie guy snapped, and you don't touch people. Things were escalating fast. Then, suddenly, a few of his friends approached, surrounding me. Now there were 3 of them, and they did not look happy. The verbal insults started flying from all directions. One called me a snitch, another said I was acting like a cop, and the third just kept laughing like this was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Why you care so much, huh? You want to pay our fares too? One of them sneered. Yeah, who died and made you police? Another one said. Yo, why you making a big deal? One of them laughed. The verbal insults started flying. One called me a bougie butt transplant, while another told me to go back to the Midwest. I wasn't even from the Midwest, but I guess I gave off the not from here vibe. At this point, I was getting heated. This wasn't some small misunderstanding. This was a whole damn mob forming against me for calling out theft. The shouting got louder, the energy shifted, and for a second, I genuinely thought things were about to get physical. Not a single person seemed even remotely interested in helping. I'm literally going to get jumped on my first day to work. I'm no MMA fighter or self-defense expert. Heck, I'm the farthest thing from it. What on earth have I gotten myself into? Just when I thought I was about to get my butt kicked, security showed up. 2 subway officers pushed through the crowd, immediately stepping between me and the group. What's going on here? One of them demanded. The fare evaders immediately started playing innocent. This dude grabbed me for no reason, hoodie guy whined, pointing at me. I was just trying to walk through, and he got all crazy. I was fuming. Are you serious? I turned to the officer. He was trying to skip the fare, and I stopped him. One of the officers sighed, clearly exhausted by dealing with this kind of thing. He barely looked at me before pointing at the group. All right, everyone, break it up. If you didn't pay, you're out. I watched as the fare evaders got kicked out of the station, but not before giving me the nastiest glares. One of them even murmured something under their breath, probably a threat, but I couldn't make out the words. I let out a breath, feeling the adrenaline still rushing through me, a mix of relief and frustration. The security guy just shrugged at me like this was an everyday thing. Don't get involved, man. Not worth it, he muttered before walking off. I stood there, processing what just happened. So, people could just steal their rides and shove paying customers. I had stood up for what was right, but somehow I felt like I had barely escaped getting my butt kicked. And what really stuck with me? No one else cared. Not one person had spoken up, stepped in, or even acknowledged the situation. It was just another day in NYC for them, and that was just the beginning of my commute. I walked down to the platform, still rattled, and waited for the train. As I looked around, I started to take in the subway's true chaos. The smell, a mix of sweat, old metal, and something that I really hoped wasn't human waste. The noise, unreal. A woman was screaming into her phone in a language I didn't recognize. A man was full-on breakdancing in the middle of the platform with music blasting from a massive speaker, shaking the entire station. A guy in a red and blue knockoff superhero suit was casually sipping coffee. And right beside me, a guy in a business suit was just staring at the ceiling, muttering to himself, then laughing 1 second, sobbing the next. I kept thinking, what have I gotten myself into? Welp, welcome to NYC, I guess. Then the train arrived. The doors opened, and it was packed. I squeezed in, trying to find a spot to stand, without making eye contact. I learned quickly that's a mistake, and immediately regretted it. The smell was, how do I even describe it? A mix of poop, urine, and what I swear was expired sushi. And the people? Oh boy. Across from me, a woman was having a loud argument on her phone about her cheating boyfriend. Next to me, some dude was watching a full movie on his phone with no headphones. Another woman was clipping her toenails like she was in her own bathroom. And in the corner, a guy was just staring at me. No expression, no blinking, just staring, and no one cared. Everyone just sat there, completely unfazed, like this was just normal. I was trying to act normal, but inside, I was freaking out. Then, just as I was adjusting to this madness, the train jerked to a stop. Delays. I checked my phone. I was already running late thanks to that whole fare evasion drama. By the time I finally got to my stop, I was nearly an hour late. On my first day, I practically sprinted to my new office, sweating like crazy, burst through the main doors, and walked into my boss's office, apologizing profusely. My boss looked up, raising an eyebrow. "Sorry," I panted, completely out of breath. Subway was a nightmare. To my shock, my boss just laughed. "Yeah, welcome to New York," he said, shaking his head. Then he got serious. "Look, don't be late again, but trust me, after a while, you won't even notice the crazy stuff anymore." I left his office, still processing the morning from hell. This city was wild, but I had two choices: either get used to it or let it eat me alive. That was my first subway ride in NYC, and honestly, it still haunts me. So tell me, am I the bleep bleep for stopping a fare evader, or should I just accept that NYC operates on its own rules? Thanks so much for watching. Have you ever been to New York City? Drop your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button, and most importantly, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a daily video. See you tomorrow.